Hey, Mike.
Hey, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We have Devananda here.
No, Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
We had Eric. I didn't know if he's going to join, but they had something in common. Eric was like in Philadelphia, and he was like in the 90s, and he was like a big Shelter fan, and also Mike was a Shelter fan, so they had in common.
Eric that comes to the Kirtan Center?
Yeah, well, he just asked Ashley about the Bhagavad-gītā readings, because he's been like out of it for a long time. He went to like a colors festival, and he said it was like overwhelming for him, and he didn't he's been away from the movement for a long time, but he's coming back now. So
You're not talking about this Eric that comes on Thursdays.
I don't know, maybe
Last
he's the same
Thursday and
guy.
the Thursday before, Eric comes every week.
Well, he hasn't been coming on a regular basis for that long, but maybe it's the same guy. I don't know.
Okay. I can point him out to you tomorrow.
Yeah, if he comes. So we're on text 43.
43, I think.
Why is this not working? Oh, here it is. Yeah, to 43. And turn the volume up a little here. For some reason it's not connecting with my external speakers. All right. You wanna read, Devananda?
All right. Vitasi lokasya. Okay, different meter. Vitasi lokasya charasya tvam asya pujas chagurur kariyan natvat samostya vyadika kutonyo lokatraye pyat pratinma prabhava.
We read synonyms too. You go ahead and read, well, they'll take turns of the purport. You read down to the translation in the first paragraph of the purport.
Okay. Pita, the father. We don't do repeat.
No.
Okay. Pita, the father. Asi, you are. Lokasya, of all the world. Chara, moving. Acharasya, non-moving. Tvam, you are. Asya, of this. Puja, worshipable. Cha, also. Guru, master. Gariyan, glorious. Na, never. Tvam samaha. Tvat samaha, equal to you. Asti, there is. Abhyadikaha, greater. Kutaha, how is it possible? Anyaha, other. Lokatraye, in the three planetary system. Api, also. Apratima prabhava, O immeasurable power. Translation. You are the father of this complete cosmic manifestation, of the moving and non-moving. You are its worshipable chief, the supreme spiritual master. No one is greater than you, nor can anyone be one with you. How then could there be anyone greater than you within the three worlds, O Lord of immeasurable power? Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is worshipable as a father is worshipable for his son. He is the spiritual master because he originally gave the Vedic instructions to Brahma, and presently he is also instructing Bhagavad-gītā to Arjuna. Therefore, he is the original spiritual master, and any bona fide spiritual master at the present moment must be a descendant in the line of the cyclic succession stemming from Krishna. Without being a representative of Krishna, one cannot become a teacher or spiritual master of the transcendental subject matter.
Okay, Mike, why don't you read the second paragraph with the Sanskrit there?
The Lord is being paid obeisances in all respects. He is of immeasurable greatness. No one can be greater than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, because no one is equal to or higher than Krishna within any manifestation, spiritual or material. Everyone is below him. No one can excel him. This is stated in the Svetasvatara Upanishad 6.8. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate, natat samaschab yadikash cha drishyate. The Supreme Lord Krishna has senses and a body like the ordinary man, but for him there is no difference between his senses, his body, his mind, and himself. Foolish persons who do not perfectly know him say that Krishna is different from his soul, mind, heart, and everything else. Krishna is absolute. Therefore, his activities and potencies are supreme. It is also stated that although he does not have senses like ours, he can perform all sensory activities. Therefore, his senses are neither imperfect nor limited. No one can be greater than him, no one can be equal to him, and everyone is lower than him.
The knowledge, strength, and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or Supreme Personality are all transcendental, as stated in Bhagavad-gītā 4.9. Jamma karma chame vivyam evamyo videtatvata tvaktadeyam pranarjama naitimam iti sarjana. Whoever knows Krishna's transcendental body, activities, and perfection, after quitting his body, returns to him and doesn't come back again to this material world. Therefore, one should know that Krishna's activities are different from others. The best policy is to follow the principles of Krishna. That will make one perfect. It is also stated that there is no one who is master of Krishna. Everyone is his servant. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi 5.142 confirms, Ekala Ishvara Krishna Ar Sabhabritya. Only Krishna is God, and everyone else is his servant. Everyone is complying with his order. There is no one who can deny his order. Everyone is acting according to his direction, being under his superintendence. As stated in Brahma Samhita, he is the cause of all causes.
Do we
Yeah, you go ahead.
comment on this or what? On the verse? What do you do?
Well,
I have a
if you
question.
have any questions,
Yeah, I got a
or
question.
comment.
Yeah.
Don't ask me. You're the
No.
authority here.
No, I'm just, here we're talking about in this verse that we just read,
This one here.
how we're speaking, essentially the difference between Krishna and the jiva, the living entity, is that Krishna is absolute in nature, so that himself and his senses, his activities are non-different. So this whole concept of being absolute is, I mean, that's a pretty, that's like big territory, So, and then it's referring to the Bhagavad-gītā, that
You mean the Śikṣāṣtaka Upanishad?
no, then
This is the Bhagavad-gītā.
yeah, but then it's referring in the purport to the verse.
Jamma karma chame
Jamma
vidyam.
karma. Yeah, if one knows, Krishna says, if one knows the transcendental nature of my birth and activities, one does not come back to this material world after giving up his body. So my question now is, well, what does that exactly mean to know? Because I could be hearing, okay, Krishna is absolute. Krishna's senses can perform, one of his senses can perform the activities of another sense. I can know all the pastimes of Krishna. I can know, in other words, I've heard all these things.
Yeah.
And I can memorize all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I can know about all these things. But is that really knowing? In other words, there's knowledge, but then there's realized knowledge. So,
Well, Krishna, no one can know Krishna unless he reveals himself. So therefore, if Krishna reveals himself to you, what are his pastimes, activity? Because all his activities, he has no mind, he has no eyes, but he sees everything. He has no legs, but he can run faster than everyone. All these things, it says he has nothing, this or that. And the Mayavadis misuse that by saying that he has no senses, but he has senses, but his senses are transcendental.
Okay, but
But
like,
if you know how his senses are transcendental, he has to reveal that to you. When he reveals himself, how he sees, what he sees, and how he feels, and the absolute nature of himself, in that his name and himself are not different because of his absolute quality. When you actually know that this name is not different from him, then you're immediately liberated.
all right, so I'll take for an example, Krishna reveals his universal form, and Arjuna, he asked to see that also, so that others in the future, you would, okay, well, here, this is Krishna's universal form. So this is an aspect of Krishna's supreme position. And so that was one of the reasons Arjuna wanted to see it. Now,
No, you wanted to see it for everybody else's sake. Not
that's
for his own
what
sake.
I'm saying. That
Yeah,
was
yeah.
the one reason he wanted to see it, just so that other people would be able to understand Krishna's position. And then we also hear from the Mahabharata how Krishna revealed his universal form, although it wasn't the same one, but still he revealed a universal form to Duryodhana, and Duryodhana wasn't able to accept it. In other words, so we hear Bhagavad-gītā, we're hearing, okay, this is the universal form, this is what it looks like, and so on. So I guess I'm still pressing that issue. We might know all these things, but that may still not give us access. So there's a difference in knowing, but I appreciate your point. In other words, Krishna reveals. So there's a difference between just theoretical knowledge and realized knowledge, in that we're dependent on Krishna's mercy for that realized knowledge. Ultimately, we're dependent, even to know ourselves. Bhagavad-gītā is giving us all this information in the second chapter. I am not this body. But, I'm not this body. Okay, I know that theoretically, but don't touch me,
That's not just to know that you're not the body doesn't mean you have realized knowledge. And the fact that, Krishna, when you actually get this, it's like the difference between academic knowledge and Vigyan. Vigyan is real knowledge.
Realized knowledge, yeah.
Realized knowledge from a transcendental source. In other words, the knowledge is not from your body or mind, or from your mind or your intelligence or false ego. It's actually coming from the spiritual world. When Krishna reveals that knowledge, then you know him.
Okay, so now let's say, so we're getting theoretical knowledge, at least by reading Bhagavad-gītā, and we're hearing about the position of the soul, the constitution, the whole thing. So, at first glance, this is a theoretical knowledge, and then we want to come to the stage of realized knowledge. So what comes in between? Now, I have an answer for that one. I'm just kind of playing a little bit of the.
So at least the way I've been kind of understanding this as we've been going through the Gita this time through, is that, the difference for me, like what I'm seeing is that, because like was said, I mean, I've known certain things for what feels like a long, long time, but it hasn't made an appreciable difference in my, my behavior or my worldview. It's just something that I kind of know and agree with.
Uh-huh.
But I think that like the kind of knowing that's being talked about here would almost like manifest itself in like almost an immediate degree of surrender, because like, I mean, if I fully understand Krishna's greatness at a level that I imagine I currently don't, like, there's no way I would want to do anything apart from Krishna. Like, if I truly understand how much Krishna loves me, there's no way I would ever want to do anything that would be offensive towards Krishna. And so like, I think that type of knowledge that's being talked about here it's just manifest in a good degree of surrender.
Right. And how is that surrender manifested?
I would imagine it would probably be just, wanting to do Krishna's will with every action,
Yeah, and then that kind of brings it to the point that I asked a question, but at the same time I had one answer. I'm not saying it's the only answer, but but that gap between theoretical knowledge and realized knowledge is applied knowledge. In other words, like you're saying, doing his will. So by applying the instructions that are given, for example, Krishna says, the embodied spirit passes from youth to old age, but then what's the next verse? The non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress. So we have so many opportunities to exercise that knowledge, to apply that knowledge when it comes to the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, or like heat and cold, or they're like winter and summer seasons. They come because of our sense perception. So we have so many opportunities to develop more and more the how do you say, the characteristics of what it is to be a spirit soul, because we're always being faced with so many dualities. But because of this verse, well, I understand that it's temporary, and what is the final statement of that verse? To tolerate. So by working on tolerance, then yeah, eventually I will come to realize I'm a spirit soul and not this body. So that's one of the things I'm thinking, by tolerating, and of course developing faith. That's so.
So what does it mean, that applied knowledge? Does that mean you do something, or you
doing something? Yeah.
With your mind, you're actually taking Krishna's instructions and then utilizing that in the world.
Yeah, that was one of his instructions in the let's see, I think it's the 8th chapter, where he says, always think of me, but at the same time carry out your duty. Carry out your prescribed duty. So on the one hand, he's saying think of me, but also carry out your prescribed duty. So, and because otherwise, if we're just trying to think of Krishna, or for example, just hearing and chanting, we may not be on that level yet. We may have to get into some practical activities to help me overcome some of my conditionings. At least for Arjuna, he was a Kshatriya, so he wasn't saying, okay, just go sit in the woods and which was Arjuna's idea at first. Let me just walk away from all this, but no, it's just become a warrior.
But how do we, we're supposed to be unmotivated. So how do we apply the instructions in a way that's not with our own motivation?
Mike?
I think it would probably maybe be, two things. One, trying to make sure that our alignment, or our actions are like aligned with like directions we're getting from authorities, whether it's like, a spiritual master or from, scripture. The other thing, is talked about in other verses, trying to remain non-attached to the results. And so like, doing the duty, recognizing that whatever comes from it, A, is not up to us, and then B, whatever comes from it should be used in Krishna's service. Mm-hmm. That sounds like maybe a way of combining those.
Mm-hmm.
What is a definition of prescribed duty? I mean, prescribed duty, is that in accordance with Varnashram, or is that what Krishna tells you to do?
Well, I think what Krishna tells you to do would supersede anything else.
What Krishna says, Krishna created the Varnashram, but actually Krishna's instructions are beyond the Varnashram, are they not?
I would imagine that if Krishna says do this, then that's what should be done.
But he's also telling Arjuna to do his prescribed duty. In other words, he was a warrior, so he was a Kshatriya, and it was his duty to fight.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, Krishna wanted him to fight. And so Krishna's instruction superseded his actual Varnashram position.
I mean, didn't he also have with being in that ashram, didn't he also have other duties to things like, caring for his family and protecting and relatives and so forth? And so in one way, he probably had to step on the toes of certain aspects of his duty to fulfill the other aspects of it, and that's where Krishna cleared things up. Or am I
Well, he was
mistaken?
attached to his family members. That's why he didn't want to fight. And Krishna said, don't worry about your family members. Just fight because I want you to fight. And because, and he came up with so many other material reasons. He came up with 99 reasons why he didn't want to fight.
Mhm.
And in other words, actually 100 reasons. No, I already told her to put it in,
Oh, okay. Sorry.
take it out. I mean,
Take it out. Okay. Sorry.
Devananda Pandit, he made a casserole for us tonight.
Oh, nice.
It's gonna get it
And
out of
I
the
said
oven.
that my wife should be married to him instead of me because he cleaned the stove and cleaned up all the pots and pans, So, and she said, yeah, he can come over, because she's still working. She's going to be working until like 9 o'clock tonight, probably. She works like 13 hours a day. But anyway, yeah, prescribed duties. Krishna wanted Arjuna to fight, and Arjuna came up with so many different reasons. And so, based on those, first of all, Krishna had to knock down all those reasons. And in the beginning of the Bhagavad-gītā, Prabhupada also talks about how you should at least theoretically accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, at least theoretically. And then you can take that next leap to actually applying that. And that's kind of like the same way that we actually develop love of God. We understand by hearing, and then once we are attracted to that message, that attraction, the rati becomes bhava. Actually, we become more and more attracted until we become, addicted, and we are actually wanting to hear more and more because Krishna is so wonderful. And then that turns into bhava, and that turns into prema. Ultimately, that's the goal, But the first thing is to actually connect to the spiritual master. Is it not? I mean, there's two rails on the train. You hear from the spiritual master, you apply that knowledge. I was just reading in this book that I'm reading now, I'll build you a temple, that when you're the goal of life is to do whatever the spiritual master wants you to do. That's the goal. The pranam mantra, or the prayers we sing, they started to sing that song actually. The Sri Guru Charana Padma, they started to sing that song in the temples in Juhu, and then it spread all over the world. I'll make the words of my spiritual master one with my heart. I won't want anything else. And so that is the goal of life. That is the substance of a devotee's life, is just to make the words of the spiritual master one. And also, like you're saying, it's a really good point about applying that, just doing it, because we might be lazy and we might not want to do all these things. So, but if you're really attached to the spiritual master, you'll do these things, not just hear them and go in one ear and out the other. And to the point where Prabhupada, and by his own example, we may not be able to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world like Prabhupada did, but Bhakti Vigyan Goswami, he was saying that Prabhupada executed his spiritual master's words to the point where he left India and went all in by himself with no money. And that takes love in order to do that. That takes a tremendous amount of love for the spiritual master's words and Krishna's mission in order to actually come to that platform. But we can start wherever we are, and it doesn't matter. We have our close family, our friends. We just have to execute Lord Chaitanya's order. And, the Prabhupada did that on a worldwide level. And we can just do it from wherever we are, in day-to-day life. Should we go on, or is that to answer your rhetorical question?
This chapter 11?
This is the universal form, yeah.
No.
So I'm taking turns here, so I guess it's your turn again, Devananda. Wait a minute, let me see how, okay. We'll just take turns reading each verse now because they're just pretty short. So you do the synonym translation and purport.
Okay. Tasmat pranamya pranidayakayam prasadayetvam aham ishamidhyam piteva putrasya sakeva sakyu priya priyayar hasideva sodam. Tasmat, therefore, pranamya, offering obeisances, pranidaya, laying down, kayam, the body, prasadaye, to beg mercy, tvam, unto you, aham, I, isham, unto the Supreme Lord, idyam, worshipable, pita eva, like a father, putrasya, with a son, saka eva, like a friend, sakyu, with a friend, priya, a lover, priyaya, with a dearmost, arhasi, you should, deva, my lord, sodum, tolerate. Translation: you are the Supreme Lord, to be worshipped by every living being. Thus I fall down to offer you my respectful obeisances and ask your mercy. As a father tolerates the impudence of his son, as a friend the impertinence of a friend, or a husband the familiarity of his wife, please tolerate the wrongs I may have done to you. Purport: Krishna's devotees relate to Krishna in various relationships. One might treat Krishna as a son, or one might treat Krishna as a husband, as a friend, or as a master. Krishna and Arjuna are related in friendship. As a father tolerates, or the husband or a master tolerates, so Krishna tolerates.
Yeah, it's like, Arjuna is like being really sweet here. It's like he's almost over apologetic to Krishna because he's afraid that he might have offended him. He's kind of like, he's usually Krishna's friend. And I was just reading something that was kind of amazing, that Krishna, he's playing as a friend and he always knows he's God, but at the same time, he really doesn't know. Sometimes he's actually playing the role of a friend, and he's actually in these different kind of situations. But when his superpowers need to be called up, like if there's a forest fire, he'll swallow the forest fire, but otherwise he's really not, he's just acting like an ordinary human being. But and that's why he acts like that. But at the same time, he's a Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why he blows everybody's mind.
Yeah.
And that's what he does the best. You can read the next one, Mike.
Okay, text 45.
Mm-hmm.
Dirshta pravam prishitam smid dirstva vayena cha pravyatitam manume tareva me darshaya deva rupam prasida devesha jagan nivasa. Synonyms: Dirshta pravam, never seen before. Rishita, gladdened. Asmi, I am. Dirshva, by seeing. Vayena, out of fear. Cha, also. Pravyatitam, perturbed. Mana, mind. Me, my. Tat, that. Eva, certainly. Me, unto me. Darshaya, show. Deva, O Lord. Rupam, the form. Prasida, just be gracious. Deva Isha, O Lord of lords. Jagat Nivasa, O refuge of the universe. Translation: after seeing this universal form, which I have never seen before, I am gladdened, but at the same time, my mind is disturbed with fear. Therefore, please bestow your grace upon me and reveal again your form as the... Can you scroll up, please?
Oh, sorry.
And reveal again your form as the personality of Godhead, O Lord of Lords, O abode of the universe. Purport: Arjuna is always in confidence with Krishna because he is a very dear friend, and as a dear friend is gladdened by his friend's opulence, Arjuna is very joyful to see that his friend Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and can show such a wonderful universal form. But at the same time, after seeing that universal form, he is afraid that he has committed so many offenses to Krishna out of his unalloyed friendship. Thus, his mind is disturbed out of fear, although he had no reason to fear. Arjuna therefore is asking Krishna to show his Narayana form, because he can assume any form. This universal form is material and temporary, as the material world is temporary. But in the Vaikuntha planets, he in his transcendental form with 4 hands is Narayan. There are innumerable planets in the spiritual sky, and in each of them, Krishna is present by his plenary manifestations of different names. Thus, Arjuna desired to see one of the forms manifest in the Vaikuntha planets. Of course, in each Vaikuntha planet, the form of Narayana is 4-handed, But the four hands hold different arrangements of symbols, the conch shell, mace, lotus, and disc. According to the different hands these four things are held in, the Narayanas are variously named. All of these forms are one with Krishna. Therefore, Arjuna requests to see his four-handed feature.
So how is it that Arjuna knew that he had a four-handed feature? You'd never seen that feature before.
Would that have also been in the universal form or no, since that was material?
What was the question?
Well, how did Arjuna know he
No,
had a
but what
forearm?
was he saying though? First,
Oh, you said something after that?
Oh, I just wondered if you would have seen it before in the universal form, or would that not have been in it because the four-armed form would have been purely spiritual and the universal form would have been material?
Yeah, the universal form is material. So that wouldn't be the Narayan form. That's actually a material manifestation. So he couldn't have seen the four-armed form
Within that.
well,
in the universal form.
he was surely acquainted with the four-armed form, whether he had actually seen it or not, but he was acquainted with it because according to the Bhagavatam, and I apologize, but I don't know exactly where it is mentioned, but or maybe it's in Krishna book, but all the residents of Dwarka, and at that time when the Battle of Kurukshetra was taking place, Krishna was already in Dwarka prior to that. And all the residents of Dwarka, their relationship with Krishna is on the level of super soul. What that exactly means, I don't know, but it's definitely the four-handed form.
I heard that Jagannath Puri, all the residents of Jagannath Puri look to the demigods like they have four arms.
Okay, so anyway, so in Dwarka, Krishna is perceived as a super soul. Oh, as a matter of fact, that there's another thing mentioned in the Krishna book. When Krishna is with all his wives, 16,000 palaces, and it's being described by Narada Muni how Krishna is he's in one palace, he's playing with the kids, another palace, he's playing chess, another one, he's talking with Uddhava. So all of these manifestations of Krishna in the palace are two-armed form. But then when he comes out of all these palaces, somehow or other, when he goes to the assembly hall, he comes out and becomes one again. And then his feature is in forearm.
Well, he goes to the Sudharma Assembly Hall in
forearm, from what I remember reading.
I remember one saying that when the gopis were searching for Krishna also, Krishna decided he was hiding behind a bush or something. And the gopis wanted to play a trick on the gopis. And so he manifested his four-arm form. And they were looking for Krishna. And he was Krishna, but he had four arms. So they weren't interested in him. Said, we're looking for Krishna. Could you please tell us where Krishna is? Even though it was Narayan, he paid obeisances to him and everything. But and I think maybe another time he manifested four arms when I know he manifested four arms when Rukmini fainted.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, because he had to he had to pick her up and at the same time wipe the sweat off of her face or something like that and comfort her, because she was completely disturbed by the fact that he was saying, you don't want me, you want somebody else, And so I remember reading he's been manifested that form in Dwarka, but I don't know whether or not Arjuna saw that form.
Yeah, I don't know if he saw it, but he would have been. I mean, he had interactions with Krishna before the battle. They knew each other, and he would have known that Krishna had this manifestation from Dwarka, because it was communication between them.
Well, when Krishna was born, didn't he have four arms?
Yeah, he manifested.
Yeah, he wasn't an ordinary baby.
But
his mother told him to please, manifest your form as a baby, and otherwise, Kamsa will know your God. If she was afraid, Kamsa would kill him. Whose turn is it now? Is it your turn, Mike?
I just read that last one. I think.
Yeah, you read.
Your turn.
Okay. So text 46. Kiritinam gadinam chakrahastam ichami tvam drastamaham tataiva tanaiva rupena chaturbhujena sahasra baho bhava vishva morte. Synonyms: kiritinam, with helmet; gadinam, with club; chakrahastam, disc in hand; ichami, I wish; tvam, you; drastum, to see; aham, I; tataiva, in that position; teneva, in that; rupena, form; chattabhujena, four-handed; sahasra baho, o thousand-handed one; bhava, just become; vishvamurti, o universal form. Because the universal form had not just four hands, he had thousands of hands and thousands of faces.
Another possibility also in regards to the Arjuna being acquainted with the four-armed form is, for example, in Vrindavan, there is another Arjuna, and he's a Gopal, right? He's a coward boy. And his relationship with Krishna is one of friendship. Now, this Arjuna here is also one of friendship, but the distinction between the two is veneration. Here, Arjuna's relationship is both friendship and servitude, awe and reverence. And whereas that is not present for the Arjuna in Vrindavan, the Arjuna, coward boy in Vrindavan, he's under the spell of Yogamaya. In other words, he's not thinking Krishna is God. Whereas Arjuna here understands that Krishna's supreme position is God. So therefore, when it comes to that exchange, there is the on reverence is reserved specifically for that four-armed form, Narayan, Lakshmi Narayan. So he would be acquainted in that sense with the four-armed form because of his mood of reverence to Krishna. That's my understanding.
Even Mother Yasoda saw the universal form of Krishna, but she just discounted it. She said, "Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy, but I don't care. He's my baby.
Right.
Let him suck my breast." You know.
Yeah, and that's the mood of the residents of Vrindavan.
They don't care if he's God, because Krishna covers him over with the Yogamaya. Yogamaya.
When Krishna tried to display that four-armed form to Radharani, he couldn't keep it.
Right. Yeah. That was the thing I was.
He couldn't keep that form.
I was talking about because he had to manifest her two-armed form because
of her love.
Radharani is more powerful than Krishna.
Yeah.
She controls Krishna. Krishna's she's got him wrapped around her finger.
Yeah.
Let me just finish this and then we got to end this because we're only doing 2 verses.
Translation. Here.
Translation. O universal form, O thousand-armed Lord, I wish to see you in your four-armed form with helmeted head and with club, wheel, conch, and lotus flower in your hands. I long to see you in that form. Report. In the Brahma Samhita 539, it is stated, Ramadi Murteshu Kalanime Natistan. The Lord is eternally situated in hundreds of thousands of forms, and the main forms are like those of Ram, Nrsimha, Narayan, etc. There are innumerable forms, but Krishna or Arjuna knew that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, assuming his temporary universal form. He's now asking to see the form of Narayan, a spiritual form. This verse establishes without any doubt the statement of Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead and all of their features originate from him. That's called Swayam Rupa. He's the original form. Rajiv Goswami proves that in so many different ways in one of his books, that he is the Swayam Rupa, the original personality of Godhead. He is not different from his plenary expansions, and he is God in any of his innumerable forms. In all these forms, he is fresh, like a young man. That is the constant feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who knows Krishna becomes free at once from all contamination of the material world. That's why you always see these, like everybody has this conception of God as like an old man in the clouds, he's touching Adam, you know, on the Sistine Chapel, you know, he's just old, got a beard. It looks like David Letterman or something with a beard. But he's not like that at all. He's always fresh and young. He doesn't look more than
Well, he's
18, Navi Ovana.
yeah, in the Nectar of Devotion, there's the three ages, Komara, which is 1 to 5, and then Poganda, which is 6 to 10, and then from 10 to 15 is Kishora.
Kishore. That's when he
And then-
danced with the gopis.
Yeah, and then the moment he leaves Vrindavan, 16 to go kill Kamsa. So that is the final age of Krishna. Krishna never ages past 16. And even though when he was fighting in the Battle of Kurukshetra, he had great grandsons, apparently.
He was 125 years old.
And great grandsons.
He lived
And,
to till he was 125.
Yeah.
What did all the other, I mean, the residents of Vrindavan, they saw him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra during the solar eclipse.
But that was not during the battle.
No, that
No,
was
it's-
many decades later, right? I mean, all of the inhabitants of Vrindavan must have aged, but Krishna didn't age, right?
Yeah.
Never really seen any of that described. But I mean, how much later
Was it before? Wasn't it before the Battle of Kurukshetra?
I mean,
I think it was
I'm not even
before.
sure the chronology, but I knew
Yeah.
it was like many years after he left Vrindavan. But
Well,
that's what the Rath Yatra is about.
yeah, one of the things I do remember from the Bhagavatam is that after the Battle of Kurukshetra took place, they lived for about 35, 40 years. Because Yudhishthir ruled for about that much time,
Oh, really? I didn't know.
35 to 40 years, something like that. And then I don't know what the span of time is between that and then Arjuna going to see Krishna and Dwarka and not coming back. And then when he didn't come back so soon and Yudhishthir was witnessing some evil omens,
Right.
and they
right.
understood that Krishna had left this world. And then the Pandavas left their kingdom, went to the Himalayas, and they left this world. So the exact time frame, I don't know, but you know,
You wrote a song about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
That's called, what's the name of that song?
uh,
You know, he's singing all the signs.
children praying in the
Children
temple.
praying in the temple,
Anyway,
asking Krishna to stay. And, you know, smoke encircles the sky and the fire turns red, you know, raining bloody disasters, you know, all the signs of Kali Yuga are coming with the Yudhishthira seeing the asses surround him and dogs are howling and all these bad omens just depict the fact that Krishna left. And so and then Yudhishthira and all the Pandavas, they go up to the Himalayas
mhm.
and Draupadi dies on the way.
Yeah, they die one by one. They
They
drop.
all, yeah, one by one, they leave their bodies. Good story.
Hmm.
Anyway, we'll have to leave it there.
Right.
So tune in again Friday.
Friday. Sounds good. Thank you.
Where are we? We're only, we did 3 whole verses. Wow.
Sorry.
We'll be at this for a long time at this rate.
Nice
Thank you very much.
Nice meeting you, Mike.
Hare Krishna.
Meet you, Hare Krishna.
Adibo.